The chambers of the Galactic Council were designed for awe. Everything was exaggerated, pillars taller than warships, flooring polished from planetary glass, floating emblems of every member species hung mid-air like medals on a dying empire's chest. This was where verdicts were handed down, where power spoke in whispers, and today, at the center of it all, Earth stood accused. The council speaker, a tentacled being wrapped in glimmering silk called Sarkal, opened the proceedings with a single booming phrase. Let the trial of species 341-A, designated humanity, commence. Humanity had sent no diplomat. They sent Commander Ryland Voss, ex-military, cold-eyed, still wore his combat jacket, no medals, no entourage, just a datapad, a calm stare, and the quiet confidence of someone who'd already read the ending. He stepped into the center of the amphitheater. No bow, no speech, just silence that made the upper tiers shuffle. Sarkal hissed from the center podium. You are summoned under allegations of violating the non-expansionary pact, engaging in unsanctioned military interventions and destabilizing council-controlled territories. Voss raised an eyebrow. That all? A few council members bristled. Sarkal continued. Humanity is accused of planting agents on neutral worlds, sabotaging peace operations and… Voss interrupted, calm as frost. Did you write this script yourself, or did someone bribe you with old Zarketh war bonds? Gasps. Two delegates froze mid-blink. Sarkal's tendrils rippled. You will answer with respect. Voss shrugged, then ask with honesty. Across the chamber, the Zixari delegation glared. Four-eyed avians dressed in violet regalia, the ones who started the whispers, the ones who brought charges forward. Their ambassador, a thin-beaked creature named Kelran Viss, stood. He turned his head with a jerking twitch and declared, Earth intervened in the Valar conflict, destroyed our orbital facilities, and assassinated our peace envoy. The holodisplay flared, showing a battle, ships torn apart, debris spiraling. The crowd leaned in, until Voss raised his hand. Pause feed. The video froze. Voss tapped his datapad once. Enhance frame 332, center right quadrant. Tessa's voice, clear and human, echoed in the council chambers. Running visual isolate. Confirming. Cloaked Zixari weapons platform initiating first strike. Gasps. The frozen image re-rendered. What had been debris now revealed outlines, weapon turrets cloaked beneath their own evac ship. Voss looked up. You tried to make it look like we attacked a peace envoy. He turned toward the silent, squirming Zixari delegation. But you forgot something. He held up the datapad. Humans record everything. A ripple passed through the room. Sarkal hissed again. Even so, interference in another species' civil war is forbidden without council approval. Voss nodded. Right. Let's talk about that. He tapped the pad again. Another hologram appeared. This time, a witness. A thin, insectoid alien with scarred chitin and a shaking voice. My name is Vrol of the Valar Resistance. We asked for council aid 3 times. We received none. Only Earth answered. More murmurs. Sarkal attempted to redirect. This is unverified. Voss stepped forward. Then verify it. He turned slowly, voice rising just enough. Do it now. I'll wait. Silence. A council AI began passing the clip. Transmission verified. Council dispatch logs confirm multiple ignored distress calls. Source authenticated. Valar system. The silence after that wasn't quiet. It was deadly. Voss didn't smile. He just paced slowly, letting every word land like artillery. You want a trial? Let's hold one. He looked at Sarkal. At what point do you stop calling it diplomacy and start calling it abandonment? He pointed to the Zixari again. At what point does peace envoy mean false flag operation? He held up the datapad one final time. And at what point do you stop trying to frame us and admit what this really is, a cover-up gone wrong? Sarkal snapped. These accusations are baseless. Voss turned to him, eyes like cold steel. We've got recordings, we've got witnesses, we've got signatures of energy weapons traced to ships you said weren't there. He stepped up to the speaker's podium. And above all, he tapped once more. We've got a surprise for the gallery. Outside the station, 12 human ships decloaked in synchronized orbit. No warning, no weapons hot, just presence. Not aimed at the Council, aimed outward, watching for the ships that had been trailing Earth's diplomats for weeks. Back in the chamber, Voss let the silence stretch again. They thought we'd come alone. They thought we'd beg. They thought we'd plead. He turned slowly. They were wrong. Sarkal whispered, "This is intimidation." "No," Voss replied. "This is insurance, against more lies." And as the chambers trembled with the weight of the truth, the human flag unfurled across every holographic display, not raised in victory, but in warning. For the first time in 2 centuries, the Council chamber fell quiet, not from diplomacy, but from disbelief. 12 Earth fleet ships hung outside the great orbiting citadel, unmoving, unthreatening, but unmistakably watching. Their signal signatures matched no public registry. Custom stealth plating, shield arrays designed for deep space combat, not a parade, a message. The trial had just turned into a reckoning. Commander Ryland Voss stood at the center of the floor, datapad still in hand. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The room had gone from smug murmurs to breathless stillness. Sarkal, the speaker, coiled tighter on his pedestal, tendrils flexing in agitation. "These theatrics mean nothing. Earth still stands accused." Voss cut in. "We're not done presenting evidence." He tapped his pad again. A new hologram bloomed above the floor. This time, Council encryption logs, time-stamped messages, layered with approval codes, marked as private transmissions between Zixari Ambassador Kelran Viss and an unknown Council official under codename Aegis 13. Voss read aloud as the entire chamber listened. "Earth's diplomatic standing must be reduced. Trial proceedings will create cover, ensure a spontaneous escalation on Valar. Blame will fall as expected." Sarkal paled. Viss froze. A rustle swept through the balconies like a storm wind over dry leaves. "This is forged," Viss barked. "A fabrication." Voss raised an eyebrow. "Then why does the Council's own AI confirm the encryption keychain? Check it." The verification light on the hologram turned green. Origin, confirmed. Source, inner Council node. Signed, Aegis 13. Session date matches Council blackout window. Sarkal's voice cracked. "This is a violation of intelligence law." "You mean," Voss replied coolly, "the law that bans intelligence Earth was never granted access to." He took a step closer to the podium. "We've been patient, polite, cooperative." He looked up at the tiered rows of delegates, many now whispering among themselves. But humanity's watched this game long enough to see the pattern. Council intervention only comes after the damage. Another projection lit the air. This one, a refugee camp, bodies wrapped in silver cloth, scorch marks, a collapsed medical dome, the banner of the Valar. A doctor, a reptilian, eyes bloodshot, cried out in a recorded feed. They struck during evacuation, claimed it was a mistake. No one even sent med teams. Earth was the only one who responded. Voss let the image hang there for a beat longer, then shut it down. "You didn't just try to frame Earth," he said. "You failed others first." He turned to Sarkal, "And now they know it wasn't incompetence. It was by design." A delegate from the Galactic Union stood, massive, four-armed, bioluminescent markings across his skin pulsing faster than normal. "This council chamber was built on the idea of consensus," he boomed, "not conspiracy." His gaze fell on Sarkal and Viss. "Yet we see now what the foundation is made of." A second delegate, from the Trinari Combine, rose, feathered, hooded, voice a whisper amplified by a translation node. "We request Speaker Sarkal recuse himself from judgment, effective immediately." A ripple. Then a vote request appeared on every terminal in the room. Green for removal, red for retention. Voss watched silently as the votes turned the room into a digital rebellion. Green, 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 one after another, until the chamber lights dimmed and Sarkal's podium lowered into the floor with a mechanical groan. He disappeared without a word. Kelran Viss, taken by security drones. The Zixari delegation, silent. One slipped out the back. Commander Voss didn't smile, but he did take a long breath and looked straight into the live feed lens now broadcasting system-wide. "You thought you were putting Earth on trial." He stepped forward, slow and steady. "But we were holding a trial of our own." He tapped his pad one final time. A message lit the air. Operation Funeral Pyre, phase complete. Gasps, from the council floor, but also from ships, across colonies. Broadcasts rippled to planets watching the trial for spectacle and now receiving their own dossiers. Earth's AI networks had compiled it all. Displaced civilians, denied medical aid council bribes paid in pre-war currency, peace envoys assassinated by misfire, and the recipients of those reports, not just governments, civilians, activists, rebellion groups, entire alliances once quiet and afraid. The council had hoped for a simple conviction. They got a full-scale exposure. Voss stood alone at the center again. No need to shout. Everyone was already listening. "We didn't come here to make you fear us," he said. "We came to make sure you stop lying to yourselves." He pointed upward, toward the now dimming projection dome above. "And if that means burning down your fake peace to build something real." He nodded once. "Then light the match." In every war, there's a moment where power shifts, but no one names it until later. This was that moment. Not a battlefield, not a starship clash, not a coup. Just a man, a data pad, and the truth laid bare in front of species that had forgotten what truth sounded like. Commander Ryland Voss didn't walk out of the council chamber when it broke into chaos. He watched. Delegates shouted. Some demanded clarity. Others called for immediate audits of their own interstellar commands. One Grillari ambassador was seen trying to discreetly delete his secure archives and immediately locked out of his terminal by an Earthfleet backdoor protocol. Voss didn't look surprised. Tessa's voice rang in his ear. "Confirmation. Phase 3 has initiated across 47 observer networks. 39 species have downloaded our Council Corruption Index. 15 are demanding reform. 4 have mobilized civilian tribunals." He exhaled. "Now we see who wants change and who wants to cover their tracks." Outside the chamber, the Earthfleet ships remained still, but their purpose changed. From insurance to witnesses. They weren't here to start a war. They were here to make sure no one could stop the truth from spreading. Meanwhile, on the shadowed side of Council Moon 6, 3 cloaked assault drones drifted toward the Dauntless, Voss's command vessel in orbit. They bore no markings, no registry, no official link to any species. But Earth's deep-wave AI detected the maneuver minutes before launch. "Valkyrie Squadron, intercept pattern Theta 9, disable only," came the order. 3 sleek black interceptors launched from Dauntless like coiled blades released mid-flight. In under 2 minutes, the drones were shredded, silent sparks twinkling over the moon's grey horizon. Their memory cores were recovered, and their encryption tags. Zixari. Voss received the report mid-meeting with what remained of the Council's temporary oversight panel. He didn't yell. He didn't raise it as a threat. He simply uploaded the assassination attempt to the Council's public archives, then looked at the Assembly and said, "Your proof of conspiracy has now moved from accusation to attempted execution." That's when things really cracked, because Earth's message wasn't just political, it was strategic. In the days leading up to the trial, Earth had quietly sent envoys to neutral systems, humanitarian fleets to forgotten colonies, and tech support teams to species who had been blackballed by the Council for decades. These weren't armed convoys. They carried medicine, water filtration systems, unbiased communications gear. So when the trial exploded, those worlds, once isolated, were the first to speak. Earth responded where the Council wouldn't. They fixed what we were told was unfixable. They listened. And now they acted. A sudden wave of declarations came from unexpected systems. The Farnai Accord suspended Council dues. The Tralithan Chain demanded a vote of no confidence, and the Yarnexi Alliance, previously silent for 2 decades, re-emerged, broadcasting, "We remember the last time Earth spoke truth." Inside the chamber, Voss stood calmly as the councillors debated behind closed platforms. Tessa updated again. 37 species calling for council disbandment referendum. Zixari forces retreating from Valar system. Several delegates now requesting asylum through Earth channels. Eliara Serin, Earth's off-world liaison, appeared on a separate broadcast beside Voss. She wore formal robes, no weapons. Her voice was like ice wrapped in velvet. "To the systems watching, we are not here to lead an empire. Earth leads no one but itself. But if you are tired of being lied to, you are not alone anymore." That line hit harder than any threat Earth could have made, Because the galaxy wasn't afraid of Earth's weapons anymore. It was afraid of Earth's ability to unite what their council broke. Sarkal, removed from the podium but still watching, transmitted one final statement from isolation. It was meant to save face. Humanity has proven disruptive, but disruption is not peace. This chaos will only bring new wars. Voss responded with a simple line broadcast across every open communication. You called it chaos when we exposed corruption. You called it war when we refused silence. But what you fear most is that the galaxy might start thinking for itself. In orbit, more species signaled Earth fleet, not to surrender, to coordinate. The Defiant, the Dauntless, and 6 Veil Nomad vessels began sharing Earth's open-source encryption shields to protect smaller systems from sabotage. No charge, no treaties required, just one condition: use it to speak truth. In the deepest corridors of Council databanks, someone tried to purge the archives. They failed. Earth had already copied them. The Council chamber had been built to feel immortal. But now, with over half its seats empty, lights flickering from severed data feeds, and the central podium decommissioned, it felt more like a mausoleum, not of a civilization, of arrogance. Commander Ryland Voss stood where Sarkal once ruled from. No guards stopped him, no protocols silenced him, and across thousands of systems, his words transmitted live, not as a demand, as a mirror. You framed us to protect your power, he said, voice steady, low. But Earth doesn't fear trials. He looked directly into the main feed lens. We fear silence. He stepped down slowly, boots echoing on the polished stone of a chamber that had judged countless species, but had never once judged itself. Until now. Behind him, screens lit up one by one. Refugees on the colony of Vesk II watching from under tarp roofs, miners in the ice pits of Eltheron with silent eyes and grim mouths, teachers, fighters, engineers, nomads, dissidents, all tuned in, because Earth didn't speak just for Earth. At the top tier, the remaining councillors conferred, quiet, rattled, stripped of robes and grandeur. Some would resign, some would run, a few would attempt to salvage what remained, but Voss made it clear, there would be no return to the way things were. Tessa's voice filtered into his earpiece. Nomad fleet confirming their own transmission, preparing statement. Voss nodded. Let them speak. The broadcast split. On the left, Voss. On the right, a Veil Nomad elder, tall, robed in a woven shroud of stardust strands, 6 eyes glowing softly. She spoke slowly, in the untranslatable cadence of memory. We once believed in the Council. We gave them our maps, our shields, our children's futures. Then they came for our culture, our voice, our history. We learned what Earth already knew. When the center cannot hear, the edge must speak. Voss let the silence stretch after her words. Then he stepped forward again. You don't need Earth to lead you. You need each other. He raised his datapad and sent the final upload. Galactic Oversight Registry, Open Access Mode, activated. It was the death blow. Every record Earth had gathered, every classified directive, every bribe, false treaty, hidden war, every council-ordered stabilization op, declassified. Delegates gasped, others broke down in tears, and across thousands of ships and worlds, civilians stared at the unfiltered reality of the very structure that claimed to protect them. In one refugee sector on Yaw's Hollow, a child asked, "Why would they lie to us?" No one had an answer, but someone whispered, "Because they didn't think we'd ever find out." And that was when Voss said it, the line that would be etched into the walls of rebuilt worlds. This was never about Earth on trial. It was about who has the right to decide the future of the galaxy. And that answer should never come from fear. It should come from truth. At that moment, the final 3 Earth fleet ships decloaked in orbit, Arbiter, Cauldron, and Liberty Reach, not with weapons aimed, with broadcast dishes live. Each ship began distributing communications kits, secure open-channel hubs to allow neglected systems to connect with each other directly. No more council mediation, no more classified emergencies, just transparency. The Council, as it once stood, died in silence. No one declared it over. It simply stopped being relevant. Later that night, Voss sat in the war room of the Dauntless, sipping black coffee while watching reports trickle in. Eliara Serin entered, holding her own datapad. Farnai declared themselves a free republic. 5 old council species just voted to dissolve their inner council. Tralithan Youth Movement announced they're forming a new network, modelled on Earth's open codebase. Voss smiled tiredly. All that from one trial. She looked at him. No. All that because when they tried to bury us, we planted a fuse. There was no victory parade, no coronation, no banners raised in orbit, no anthem blasted across the stars, because Earth didn't come for power, it came for justice, and justice doesn't need fireworks, it just needs to be heard. The council chambers remained, physically at least, but the title council had already begun to fade from official use, replaced by a growing coalition known only as the Accord of Witnesses, a decentralized alliance where no single world held sway, where records were public, where war decisions required unanimous consent, and where every planet had access to the full history of the trial that broke the galaxy open. Humanity was offered the center seat, twice. Both times, Earth declined. Commander Ryland Voss made it clear during the final broadcast, "We don't want a throne, we want a table, and we want everyone invited." It was a rare thing in the galaxy, an empire that refused to be born. But not everyone surrendered quietly. A week after the collapse, 3 remnants of the old High Command tried to reassert control. They mobilized warships under the pretense of restoring order, issuing ultimatums to former council-aligned systems. Their plan? Strike fast, install loyal governments, and blame the humans again. They didn't make it past the first jump gate. The Arbiter, one of Earthfleet's broadcast ships, intercepted their fleet near the Hadari Chasm, not with weapons, with a transmission, a warning, a single sentence repeated on every frequency, "This is not your galaxy anymore." They tried to fire anyway, and that's when the shields failed. Not Earth's, theirs. The fleet's AI cores had been laced, quietly, legally, ethically, with a virus written into the trial's exposed code logs. Earth hadn't just shared truth, it had shared a security fix. Anyone who refused to implement it was, quite literally, still vulnerable to the same flaws that got the galaxy into this mess. The warships powered down, drifted, and one by one their crews defected, not to Earth, to the Accord. Back on Alaria Prime, where the first Council Accords had been signed centuries earlier, a new structure rose from the ruins of the old Senate Dome, not made of crystal or gold or imperial alloy, made of blackened stone and salvaged tech from ships lost in the battle. At its center stood a massive slab carved with one phrase, "Truth doesn't need a throne." Ryland Voss visited the monument once, not in uniform, just a jacket, a thermos of coffee, a quiet smile. Eliara Serin met him there. "They're calling it the trial that ended the stars," she said. He shook his head. "No." She raised an eyebrow. He took a long sip of coffee and stared up at the spire. "It wasn't the end of the stars. It was the moment we stopped letting liars speak for them." The final phase of Earth's intervention was not military, political, or technological. It was architectural. A constellation of autonomous relay satellites was deployed across neutral space, each one capable of secure, open-source communication. No one could own them, not even Earth. They were called the Echoes. Each echo carried a single encrypted file at its core. The trial, the footage, the lies, the truth, the turning point, and the sentence Voss had spoken as Sarkal was lowered into silence. "We don't rise because you fall. We rise because someone has to." Back on Earth, news of the trial faded from headlines faster than expected. There were no galactic holidays declared, just a brief uptick in volunteer applications to Earthfleet's Peace Division, and one curious surge in coffee orders matching the call sign VOS. Somewhere in orbit over an unnamed moon, a small alien child stood beside a human technician, watching the stars blink in strange, beautiful patterns. "What's that?" the child asked. The human smiled. "That's the galaxy talking to itself again, and for the first time in a long, long time, it was telling the truth."